Hello everyone, glad you're here. It's Bicycle Touring Talk 77, another video about my coast-to-coast across Canada adventure. I am George Schlackegg,
the one and only,
and I'm sharing those stories, hoping you'll find them interesting, inspiring, and perhaps even helpful. Cycling across Canada could be a bit rough. This was especially true in Saskatchewan, where even in the middle of June there was no trace of summer.
Alright, as you can see, I'm all packed up, ready to go. Still chilly this morning, but I'm hoping it's going to get better, and it definitely doesn't look like it's going to rain any moment, so keep those fingers crossed.
After a chilly and damp night in a campground outside of Melfort, I hit the road around 9 o'clock after fixing yet another leaky tube, drinking coffee and enjoying oatmeal for breakfast. I was hopeful that the weather wasn't going to be as bad as the forecast, but the meteorologist had got that one right. While it wasn't raining much and only infrequently, the temperature had dropped significantly and the wind from the west wasn't letting up. I was now headed south on Highway 6. My first stop was for lunch in Neighbour. Just as I had found a large picnic shelter right in the center of town, it started raining heavily. I opted for sandwiches as the strong wind would have made it tough to cook a hot meal.
So it's lunchtime once again. I am in Neibour, Saskatchewan. It's one of those days when you wonder, like, what the hell, is it ever gonna warm up? This is day number 4 that the weather is shitty. And I'm getting really tired of it. Today is actually colder than yesterday. The wind is still very strong, and it's still raining on and off. So, you know, when you're out in the open on the bicycle, it's challenging. Well, bicycle touring is about being out of your comfort zone, but how much, you know?
I was freezing. Once the rain stopped, I found the local co-op store and stocked up on groceries before heading back out onto the highway. Cycling usually warms me up after a while, but that day it just wasn't working. At some point I saw a farmer's store that was advertising homemade ice cream. A father and a son were operating the store. They forgave me for not being interested in the ice cream at all and opting for the hot cup of coffee instead. I was offered some fresh tomatoes as well, and they tasted fantastic. The older guy was quite curious about my tour, so we talked for a while. Only about a half hour after leaving the store, I reached Watson. A cute little town with a giant Santa Claus statue by the roadside of Highway 5, the road I was now going to take to go east. Santa Claus in June was the question on my mind. Well, and the weather actually matched that scenario. After a short break and photo op with Santa,
Hi.
I took a turn into the old downtown and even visited the museum, which had been a bank at one time. The building was way over 100 years old, but so well preserved and full of interesting artifacts from the area. The curator also gave me some information about camping in that area, especially Quill Lake and Wadena, the next two towns on my route. I decided early on that I was going to get to Wadena. It should be easy with a tailwind. As nice as that was, when I got close to Quill Lake, my front tire seemed to get soft again. Definitely a leak, but hardly noticeable at first, so I decided to simply pump the tire back up and carry right on. I was intent on stealth camping somewhere around Wadena. Searching for a good spot, I first discovered the rec center. The surroundings looked promising. Then I ended up at the nearby municipal campground. The fee for a tent site was only $10, hot shower included. A deal too good to refuse, except that my tent site was out in the open with little protection from the wind, and the shower building? It was in poor condition. Also at the campground was a man who was camping in his car. His behavior was bizarre as he was trying to make conversation. Did I smell booze on his breath? Sure thing. I was relieved when he took off to go see some people in town. That guy and my leaky tire weren't my only concerns. Temperature had dropped to near freezing. I was grateful for having my sweatpants. I cuddled up in my sleeping bag, dressed warm, and it worked. I fell asleep fast. I woke up briefly when I heard the neighbor's car pull in again. Was he drunk and driving anyways? The engine stopped and it stayed quiet. I fell asleep again. The next day was Saturday, June the 24th. When I woke up it was sunny, but not warm. The other guy was already gone. I made some coffee and oatmeal for breakfast. While I was busy with that, I noticed that my front tire had lost a lot of air again overnight. I had to fix it.
And you know what, it's to the day today, it's 5 weeks since I left Tofino. And it's been quite the ride, I tell you. The weather, it's getting much better. Yesterday was so cold I was getting worried. But yeah, today I just gotta change my front tube again. You know, I did 3,139 kilometers in 5 weeks. So that puts my average per week over 600. And that's despite taking off a few days along the way, especially in Edmonton, where I had to do yard work. Wasn't really a rest time. And I'm looking at taking a rest day off somewhere when I find weather like this, except maybe 10-15 degrees warmer, because it's not that warm yet, but it's supposed to get much warmer. And maybe by a lake, you know, where I can camp for cheap. pay an extra day and just go swimming and all that stuff. Well, today I'm just looking at riding.
Thankfully, I located a puncture right away. Talk about being jinxed for flat tires. I was getting sick of them. By the time I finally left the campground, it was around 11. The ride started out on Route 35 going south again. Wind was from the west, which wasn't helping me but kept pushing me closer to the edge of the shoulder. That all changed when I turned east again on the Yellowhead Highway. Now I was perfectly aligned with the strong tailwind. It made for a great ride. The weather had improved a lot, but it still wasn't warm. I got worried a few times when it started raining.
So I'm actually on the Yellowhead Highway right now. Like, if you look behind me there, that's the way to Edmonton, but I'm going that way. Right now that's the way to Yorkton, and then later on into Manitoba. I don't know how long I'm going to stay on it because it wasn't my idea to ride on the major highway, but right here the traffic is actually light. The one thing that's concerning, of course, like has been for the past 5 days, is the weather. Saskatchewan weather in late June this year, it totally sucks. So hopefully that'll turn better.
Lunch was at Foam Lake and it was sunny again, but still windy and quite cold. There was a visitor center. The lady at the desk was very friendly. She even looked up the Environment Canada long-range forecast for me. Another cold night was in store, but warmer temperatures were on the way for Sunday. I was determined to get to Yorkton. There would be internet access and a laundromat. I stopped 2 more times. First, at a huge Ukrainian church near Insinger. It looked impressive from far. When I got close, though, it turned out that it was abandoned and in a state of decay. The village probably didn't have enough religious people left to keep it going. Another stop was in Theodore. Where I bought an ice cream bar at the general store and ended up hanging out with 3 older ladies in the seating area of the store. One was the owner, and she fed me free homemade donuts. People here were exceptionally friendly and seemed so relaxed. However, I also found out that the store was up for sale and would probably be closed for good if no one bought it that summer. Strangely enough, after that stop, the wind had shifted. I now had to work against it for a while. Still, the rest of the way to Yorkton went smoothly, and the wind eventually died down. Once I was finally there, I was pretty tired. This was the 2nd day in a row that I had ridden over 140 kilometers. Where was I going to stay? Stealth camping was on my mind, and the timing seemed good. I found a baseball field with picnic tables, so first I sat down and had some sandwiches for supper. By the end of that, it was well past 9. I had to find a camping spot. There was a park behind the field with tall grass and bushes. I'd be okay there till morning, so I set up the tent and went to bed. Well, that shall be it for this episode. The following day was going to be a Sunday, and it was going to be my last day in Saskatchewan, as the Manitoba border was now less than 90 kilometers away. I'll tell you about that ride and my first impressions of Manitoba in episode 78. Hope to welcome you again for that. I've got one request. Hit that like button. It helps my exposure here on YouTube. Thanks, and I see you again soon.